What's going on, guys? Hope you're all doing well. I am in Las Vegas, Nevada, here for CES 2018, but I actually drove out here with Wifey Sauce. She's getting ready in the room, so if you hear any ambient noise and it's distracting, that's her fault. But we drove out here a few days early to attend AMD's CES Tech Day 2018, where they shared a lot of information about their upcoming products for this year. It's very exciting stuff. There's a lot of info, so I've tried to trim as much fat as possible just to curate all the information that I figured you guys would be most curious about. Let's just start off with the 2018 rollout plans. Ryzen desktop and mobile APUs are expected to arrive Q1, with second-gen Ryzen desktop processors and Ryzen Pro mobile APUs following in Q2. And then finally, we're going to see second-gen Threadripper and second-gen Ryzen Pro desktop CPUs in the second half of the year. And we'll touch on each of these more specifically, apart from second-gen Ryzen Threadripper. They didn't really talk much at all about that, other than it's coming soon. So I'm going to start off with all of the mobile announcements first, and then we'll work our way over to desktop by the end of the video. So starting with Radeon Vega mobile processors, those are going to be coming soon. They're going to be featuring HBM2, and they're going to be super low powered, very small footprint. They're going to have a very short Z height as well, 1.7 millimeters. That's almost half of what we saw with discrete Vega, meaning that they're going to be able to fit into slimmer and more ultra portable laptops and notebooks and things like that. Of course, you know, low power means less heat as well. VR ready, VR capable. We should be able to see some of these notebooks be able to drive pretty nice VR experiences, whether it be, you know, the Oculus Rift or the HTC Vive. 300 certified FreeSync displays to choose from. We should be seeing more FreeSync 2 monitors become widely available in 2018. Radeon will support HDMI 2.1, so we'll be able to get nice variable refresh rate technology out of our Vega mobile processors. And unfortunately, there was no word of any desktop Vega being fit into mobile devices. So it looks like for the foreseeable future, if you want super high-end mobile graphics performance, then you would still be going with Team Green for now. But mobile Vega is at the very least going to offer much lower cost and less power consumption and heat as well. Moving on to Ryzen mobile APUs. They didn't really say or throw around the acronym APU very much. They would just say Ryzen mobile processors with Radeon Vega graphics. But for just the sake of convenience, I'm just going to call them APUs, whether they like it or not. So we saw the Ryzen 5 2400U launch late last year, just in December, and it had pretty nice gaming performance, especially compared to the Intel integrated graphics. And we have even more Ryzen mobile APUs to follow for this year, starting with the Ryzen 3 2200U. This is going to be a 2-core, 4-thread part with a base clock of 2.5 GHz and a max boost of 3.4. 3 compute units, a max GPU clock of 1000 MHz, 5 MB of L2 and L3 combined cache, and a 15-watt TDP. Just for the record, all of these chips that I'm about to list off here have a TDP of 15 watts, so I don't have to keep repeating that. Ryzen 3 2300U is going to have 4 cores and 4 threads. We're going to see a base and boost of 2 GHz and 3.4 GHz respectively, 6 CUs, max GPU clock of 1100 MHz, 6 MB of L2, L3 cache, and we did see a demo of that chip running Wolfenstein 2 at 1920 by 1080 on an HP Envy 360 notebook. Again, it's a 15-watt notebook. It looked really fluid from, you know, what I could see from my seat looking at the giant projector. And this is, again, with no discrete GPU. This is all off of the integrated Vega graphics on these new APUs, which is pretty impressive. The Ryzen 5 2500U is going to have 4 cores and 8 threads with a base and boost of 2.0 GHz and 3.6 GHz respectively. We have 8 CUs, a max GPU clock of 1100 MHz, 6 MB of L2, L3 cache. And then finally we have the Ryzen 7 2700U. This appears to be their flagship mobile APU with 4 cores and 8 threads, so we are getting some multi-threaded action there. Base clock of 2.2 GHz with a max boost of 3.8. 10 CUs, a max GPU clock of 1300 MHz, and 6 MB of cache. This falls slightly behind the Core i7-8550U in single-threaded Cinebench, but soars ahead, as you can see here, in the multi-threaded test. In fact, it's actually getting around the same multi-threaded performance as the Core i5-7600K, which is, of course, a desktop chip, so that's pretty impressive. And this, of course, is going to be using Infinity Fabric to sort of bind Zen and Vega together. It's going to act as the singular backbone of the APU, governing the entire SoC. All the elements on the chip will be serviced through Infinity Fabric, which is also what's going to be managing Precision Boost 2 and Mobile XFR. And as you might expect, we're going to see these chips become available in a wide variety of 2-in-1s, ultra-thins, and gaming laptops, of course. Ryzen Pro Mobile. These are also going to be featuring the Radeon Vega graphics, so these are essentially just the Pro versions of the APUs we just talked about. These are really aimed at the enterprise and commercial markets that are looking for silicon-level security and various features that, enhance enterprise-class support and things like that. The 3 SKUs that were mentioned here are the Ryzen 3 Pro 2300U, Ryzen 5 Pro 2500U, and the Ryzen 7 Pro 2700U. These will be made available with a wide range of enterprise, ultra-portable, and workstation laptops come Q2 of this year. And then moving on to our desktop stuff. This is what gets me excited. First off, we've got Ryzen desktop APUs. All right, launching February 12th. That's right around the corner. These are going to be great for low cost, low power, small form factor systems, HTPCs, ultra portable gaming rigs, you name it. So these are going to be pretty exciting. Ryzen 5 2400G is going to have 4 cores and 8 threads. We have a base and max boost clock of 3.6 and 3.9 gigahertz respectively, 11 CUs, max GPU clock of 1250 megahertz, 6 megabytes of L2, L3 cache, up to a 65-watt TDP, and a price of $169 US. Very attractive. This doubles the graphics performance of the Core i5-8400 in time SPY. Also matches the performance of an 8400 and a GT 1030, which is of course a discrete GPU. And that is to say that you're getting about the same performance as something that has higher TDP and is going to cost you quite a bit more. The only other SKU in this family was the Ryzen 3 2200G, 4-core, 4-thread part, base clock of 3.5 and a max boost of 3.7 gigahertz, 8 CUs, a max GPU clock of 1100 megahertz, and 6 megabytes of L2, L3 cache. Once again, up to a 65-watt TDP, retailing for $99. Pretty awesome. Now, personally, I think the most exciting thing about these APUs is that they're fully unlocked, which means the CPU clock, the GPU clock, and of course the DRAM can all be overclocked. And in AMD's testing, with the help of Infinity Fabric and all that, overclocking all 3 of those elements, they were able to see a 39% uplift in 3D Mark Firestrike. 39%, that's crazy. They even had some fun just for the lulz, and they tried overclocking it with LN2 overclocking on an APU, and the GPU clock actually hit 2 gigahertz, which is freaking insane. So there's going to be these things are going to be a lot of fun to play with. I can't wait to get my hands on them for testing, and it definitely sounds promising for gamers who are on a more conservative budget, or if you're just looking for something like an HTPC. Rest assured, there will be many builds with these APUs, at least on this channel. Finally, let's talk about those 2nd-gen Ryzen desktop CPUs. These are the full-fledged successors to the the 1000 series CPUs that did so well upon their launch last year. No models, specifications, or pricing was mentioned at the tech day, so I don't have any of that for you guys. That's going to come later, but there's still some juicy details here. The 2000 series roadmap for this year is going to look pretty similar as it did last year, with Ryzen 7 coming out first, followed by Ryzen 5, but then we've got the APUs in the desktop family now. So we've got the Ryzen 5 APUs launching right after, and then we have Ryzen 3 desktop and then Ryzen 3 APUs to follow. So it's going to be a pretty intense lineup of launches this year. If you thought last year was crazy, AMD just seems to not be slowing down their momentum at all. The 2nd-gen Ryzen desktop CPUs are of course going to be the first to use the 12nm Zen Plus core. Again, with Zen 2 and Zen 3 to follow later on, we're going to be seeing higher clock speeds with the 2nd generation of CPUs, which is exciting. That was one area where Intel just sort of demolished their competition with being able to hit, upwards of 5.1, 5.2 gigahertz, with AMD still, Ryzen struggling to hit 4 gigahertz sometimes. So that's going to be really nice. AMD also mentioned their Precision Boost 2 technology, so that's going to be coming back, but even better than ever, more optimized in ways that I'm not going to get into detail right now, just to keep the video a bit shorter. We also got confirmation that all of the 2nd generation Ryzen desktop CPUs will be compatible with existing AM4 motherboards. So that includes, the X370 chipset boards and B350 chipset boards. All you'll need is a BIOS update from your motherboard manufacturer in order to make that all work. But that's nice. And conversely, you could even slot 1000 series CPUs into newer AM4 motherboards when they roll out later this year. That's going to include boards on the X470 chipset. That's the brand new one that's going to have some nice features that they didn't really get into exactly what features that chipset's going to come with. And there was also no mention of potentially cheaper B450 boards, but I would have to imagine that those are also going to be coming soon. As for the X470 boards, those are going to be arriving the same time as the second generation desktop CPUs in April of 2018. And last but not least, AMD was very proud to announce their Wraith Prism because more RGB is how they phrased it. This is of course going to feature per LED color control around the ring, illuminated fan blades, enhanced motherboard compatibility, and there's even a dark mode for all of you RGB heathens out there. Also kind of convenient is a switchable OC fan profile, and they're assuring us that it's going to be operating very quietly like we've seen with all of the other Wraith coolers. So those are pretty much all the highlights that I wanted to share with you guys in a nutshell. If you guys want some more information, maybe Paul from Paul's Hardware has also uploaded a video. Go ahead and check that out. If he has, I'll put a link in the description below. He may have done a deeper dive than I have, or all the other tech journalists out there who were at the event. Go ahead and check those out too. This is really exciting stuff though. AMD has a lot of things on the horizon. And you know, I think Intel's going to have their work cut out for them just as much this year, if not more so than they did in 2017. And of course, more competition is always good for consumers at the end of the day. On a final note, be sure to stay subscribed or get subscribed if you're not already so you don't miss any of the CES coverage. CES starts in 2 days, so I'll be pumping out a lot, dozens of videos, or at least a dozen or so videos of the event, so it should be very exciting as well to see what all the other vendors, apart from AMD, are going to be coming out with later this year. But guys, thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for more coming soon, and I will see y'all in the next video.